Let's move on to some social media questions here. We've got one from Facebook. Rudy has a question for us.
Can you ever have valuable clutter? Feels like a trick question.
Yeah. One man's clutter is another man's fortune, right? And so your clutter that is clutter to you may be valuable to someone else, but by definition, clutter that gets in the way for you is not valuable to you. Because if you were getting value from it, you would not feel compelled to cling to it without using it, right? And so, no, clutter by itself is not valuable, even if that item is valuable in the marketplace. If Ryan gave me a Lamborghini today, and he said, you can't do anything with this but continue to own it, it would not be valuable to me at all because I wouldn't use it. I have no desire to drive a Lamborghini personally. Yeah. But someone else, if I could sell it, they may say, oh, yeah, I'd be happy to give you $200,000. What a steal for me.
Yeah.
And so it could be valuable for them, even if it's not valuable for me. So I don't like making the grand sweeping statements where this thing is junk and no one should own it. Obviously not. It's just not appropriate for me.
I think I'd give you $200,000 before I gave you a Lamborghini. Because I know you so well. Oh, man.
I'll hold my breath.
Yeah. So I actually, I don't know, like some people, they collect things. I'm trying to think, like my brother-in-law, there's a game called like Warhammer, and it's like these little miniatures, and he paints them and they look really, really good. And I can look at those and I can appreciate like, oh, wow, like this collection that you have, this is pretty cool. Like I could see where you find value in that. But yeah, to me, it would be absolute clutter. So yeah, I mean, there are people out there with collections and they really enjoy their collection of whatever it is. And we're not here to judge and say that, no, that could never be valuable. It's really about like how valuable is it to you? Because certainly any pile of clutter, any hoard is going to have some value. The question is do you value it more than the space that it would create if you let it go?
Oh, yeah,
that's
absolutely. Great. Yeah. So projection is when we take our own thoughts and feelings and we externalize them as coming from other people. Introjection is when we take other people's thoughts and feelings and we internalize them as if they are coming from ourselves. It's very easy to both project and introject with clutter. So for instance, if I see someone else who has an object that I don't need, that stresses me out, I project by saying, oh, that's clutter, but it might be creating value for that person and they might enjoy it. Or if I have things and I know there's someone else out there who has fewer things, I get a little insecure and say, well, they might think it's clutter. And so I introject and then I feel guilty about the things that are creating value in my life. It's important to step back and say clutter for me may not be the same as clutter for you. It's determined by usefulness. It's determined by the value that it brings to me. The other thing I would say is there's a distinction between actual and hypothetical value. That's important for questions like this. Actual value is something that plays an integral role in the plans that I have now. Whereas hypothetical value is, this is something that could be valuable if my life were something other than what it actually is. It's just in case, disguised in the language of value, right? And so sometimes when we think about things in terms of like, can you have valuable clutter? It's like, well, all clutter is hypothetically valuable. But the question is it actually valuable? Do you need it right now? Or is it a burden to your life right now? And you're just hanging on to it because you're telling yourself a story that one day, for reasons you can't anticipate, your life might change and then you'll regret having let go of this thing. Don't let hypothetical value get in the way of your ability to enjoy the actual value that is in the here and now.
Ooh, that sounds like we could make another minimalist rule with, is it actual value or is it hypothetical value? Yeah, that's a great approach.
I was listening to Bobby Brown before the show, so Josh was like, I think that's where you're getting your maxims from. I was like, yeah, a little 80s, 90s R&B.
There's always something. John B is going to sue us any moment now. I got one more rule for you. I was going to do this during the Talk Aboutable segment, but since we have a second, I call it the let go anyway rule. Let go of something you want to keep if it makes room for something meaningful. Something more meaningful than the thing you would hold on to. I call this the let it go anyway. Like, oh yeah, I get some sort of value from this, the hypothetical value, or maybe I just get a little bit of value from it. But maybe you'd get more value from letting it go. We call that the let go anyway rule.
I love it.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.